We're going to do something a little different this morning for our first lesson. We're going to make sure that we know how Yang 10 form connects with Yang 24. In doing so, we're going to cover commencing form, parting of the wild horse's mane, and white crane spreads its wings in the 24, okay? So you're going to have to do some heavy-duty thinking, okay? Keep up with my thinking. Hopefully, it's just as strong as yours. So in the 10 form, we know that this is a T stance, an L stance, and a bow stance. A sit back and a lower, a pivot, shift weight, T stance, L stance, turn hips and waist, bow stance, sit back, lower, pivot, so on and so forth. So in the 24, it's not any different. However, there's a little peculiarity that is unique to the 24 and the 16 because we get away from our 4 blocks, but we travel or move in a linear way, in a longer distance. When we travel in a longer distance, we're getting away from the T stance, but we're calling this a twist step. Whenever we do a twist step, it's always on our heel that's rotating or pivoting, shifting our weight. Once we're on a outward position, we then take an L stance, and no different on a bow stance. We sit back and we lower. Here comes that peculiar step. This is called a twist step. Okay? So the twist step takes a little different form. The T stance no longer applies in this particular movement, twist step, L stance, bow stance. Okay? So let's do it forward first, okay? So we're going to do 2 things. We're going to come forward so that you can follow me, but then after that, I want you to get the experience of going linear. I don't know what you call this, but for me it's linear, going to the side rather than forward, okay? All right, so this time we're going to put our hands at our waist, and we have good Tai Chi posture, right? We're not hunched over like this, growing through the spine. So can you do something for me and follow me? Let's hunch over. Let's lift up. Let's get good Tai Chi posture, and you say, this is the best I can, but then grow through your spine. That's where I want it. Grow through your spine. One more time, hunch over. This is not good Tai Chi posture. We want a good posture. Here we go. Grow through the spine. That is Tai Chi's posture. All right, now we're ready to do our Tai Chi walk. We have 50-50. We have good Tai Chi posture. Our knees are flexed. We're going to pivot out on our right heel. We're going to pretend as if we're walking in this direction. We're shifting our weight, putting everything on our right foot to alleviate the weight of our left so that we can take an L stance. Turn our hips and waist, reposition our weight, flatten out. This is called a bow stance. No problem. Sit back, lower. Pivot. That's a zigzag. Shift weight as if you're walking in this direction. Put out a heel for an L. Turn hips and waist, flatten down, bow stance. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Walk in that direction, heel out, turn hips and waist, flatten, bow stance. Okay, I'm going to get very strict. Sit back, lower, pivot. Walk in this direction and show me that your 2 hips are in the same direction by putting your hands on your hips. So I should not see one right hand going in the forward direction. We are going in the zigzag direction. Weighted on the left. When we take an L stance, our foot, when it finally flattens, should be on a line or parallel to the line, and that's what you learned about an L stance. Heel down, turn hips and waist, look at that front foot. Is it parallel or on a line? That's the only thing that's correct, the only way that it could be there, okay? Sit back, lower, pivot out. Are you walking in that direction? Both hips in the same direction. Put your heel out on an L, turn hips and waist. Is your foot parallel or on a line? Sit back, sit down, pivot, walk in that direction, heel, turn hips and waist. Are you turning your hips and waist? Flattening out, both stance. One good one for me to watch. Sit back, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, heel out, turn hips and waist, both stance. Sit back, sit down, pivot, walk in that direction, heel out on an L, both stance. Sit back, sit down. One more for good luck. Really listen. Sit back, sit down, pivot, shift weight, L stance, make sure that foot is straight. Bow stance. Sit back, sit down, and show me how you can lower yourself. All right, good. Go back. Okay? There are a few people who think they're doing it right, but they're doing it wrong. Okay? So let's say that everybody has that problem. Don't say it's not me. Okay? And there are old-timers who are not getting it. Okay? That bothers me. Okay? Because eventually you're going to tell me you're going to have some knee problems or hip problems. All right, I'm going to do it wrong, okay? Pivot out, L stance. It's not an L stance. This is not an L stance. I see it in at least 3 or 4 of you. Why is that an L stance? L's are made this way, straight, whether it's the bottom or the top, but this time it's the top. The capital L. This is the top. You cannot flare out. This is a Y. This is a W. This is wrong. Watch again. This is pivot out. I'm walking in this direction, okay? If I'm not walking in that direction, one hip's going here, one hip's going there, that's not correct. So walk in this direction is this way. You can never walk in this direction if one hip is pulling you this way, right? So pivot out, walk in this direction, weight down. L stance, it has to be on the line or parallel to this line. If that is true, you cannot have it out this way. You're going to hurt yourself. This is not an L stance. This is not a bow stance. If you stagger between a line, come out, that's 45 degrees. When you take an L, it's a 90 degree or parallel to that flooring, okay? So can I show you 2 wrong ways so that you know that this is not right? Out, correct. Heel. Already I'm torquing my knees. You need to come here to come down flat. Okay, one more time. I said 2 times. Walk in that direction. Heel out. This is wrong. Why? It's not, it's like more than a 90 degree. This is your 90, then down, 45, the back foot. Okay? Heel. Now look at your heel. Or you can come down. Drag that foot, that front foot back. Is that an L stance? Wow, you're cutting it close. So what did you learn? Or do you need to relearn? whenever you're on a T, out and to the side to make sure you have that clearance. Some of you are cutting it close and saying, this is my L stance. It's going to catch up with you, okay? Is there anybody who needs me to clarify that a little bit more? Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm getting at? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. No? Okay. So show me. Okay, show me. I'll do 2 with you, and then I'm going to watch the 3rd one, okay? Good Tai Chi posture. Go through your spine. Pivot out. Walk in that direction. Firm down. L stance. Turn hips and waist. Flatten out. O stance. Stretch. Sit back. Lower. Allows you to pivot out. 2 hips in that same direction. L stance. Now turn your hips and waist, flatten out, bow stance. Your turn to do it for me. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Walk in that direction. L stance, bow stance. I see improvement. One more time. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Walk in that direction. L stance, bow stance. Okay, good. All right. So people that I spotted were doing wrong are doing it now correctly. Let me show you something that could apply to all of you. If you exaggerate and you go way this way, it's not good. This is almost 180 degree, okay? 90 degree. So pivot out, walk in that direction. This puts stress on one foot, one foot. When you have this down, your weight is still in the back. Only when you turn hips and waist do you then do a 50-50. It's more difficult doing it correct. So perhaps you need to re-examine what you're doing. So to make it very clear, pivot out, shift my weight. I have to hold my weight to allow the insubstantial foot to now come out here. But I cannot put any weight there. My weight is still here. My energy is still here, stored. I need to bring it up through my body, down, then flatten. So we know that the power and the benefits of Tai Chi are strong in that you need to hold your weight on one foot, and you need to then shift that weight and hold it on the next foot, alternating, okay? Now, going back to what I saw, if you over-exaggerate what I say by coming all the way out here, you're going to have to walk in this direction. It's not good. Therefore, all you need to do is take that 45 as if you're walking. So you're just going like this all this time. But if your L stance is correctly and parallel to the line and going on a line, you will go straight ahead to the opposite end of the room, okay? But once you start over-exaggerating and coming out here, you're going to go this way, and you're going to torque your knees, okay? So don't do that, okay? But at the same time, don't take it mildly, and don't make that 45 twist, okay? All right. So it's going to be reviewed. You're going to have to absorb some of it, and then we're going to have to apply it right now to our lesson, okay? So in other words, when you set this here, you're just keeping it as a placeholder. You are not plopping it here and having 50-50 weight. You are just saying, I'm substantial, I'm weighted down. My L stance takes me here on a heel. I need to move this energy across and through my body and then down this way. Do not, and we see it, do not to weight your feet. Do not weight your feet doubly. You're going to have problems in that way too, okay? So that's what makes Tai Chi powerful, in that you're able to hold your weight, or try to hold as much as of your weight on one foot before advancing or transferring that weight. So the reason why I'm laying this groundwork is that we want to build on it. If we build on something incorrect, it's going to be hard to retrieve and more difficult to relearn. So we will now follow me and do parting of the wild horse's mane coming forward, and then we'll take off on it, okay? And for those of you who have been in this class for a long time, it's a lot of benefit in that you're gaining that strength that you need, and you're cleaning up and re-evaluating what you have learned, okay, or thought you've learned. All right, so this time now, pivot out. Left hand on the bottom to hold your ball, right hand on the top. Good Tai Chi posture, okay? You're on a twist step. Left heel out, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Get a good stretch, don't worry about what's coming up next. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Don't forget to walk in that direction. The ball gives you a center, a balance, out on an L. Move that ball, part the wild horse's mane, get a good stretch. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Don't forget to walk in that direction. Heel, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, lower, pivot out. Walk in that direction, put your heel out, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, lower, pivot out, center, heel, move that ball, here it is. Half step forward, hold your ball. Spin your ball to the left, lower the back foot, follow the right hand go up, set it on its toe. This is white crane, spreads its wings. The weight is definitely on the back. Okay? So commencing form. Shift weight to the right, left heel, toe off the ground, toe, arch heel. Rotate, deep breath, release, drop your shoulders, flex your knees. Hold your ball in a T stance. Out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Get a good stretch. Sit back, lower, pivot out, ball for better balance, walk in that direction. Heel out, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, move that ball out on the heel, part the wild horse's mane. This is a drill. Sit back, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, hold your ball, L stance, move that ball, bow stance. Sit back, lower, pivot out, center, move that ball on an L, bow stance. Now, check everybody. Put your hands down, drag your front foot back, and you ask yourself, do I have a good space between my 2 feet? We need that space. Make sure it's there. So what if it's not there? What did you do wrong? Or how can you correct it? You need to come out and to the side rather than out and to the not side. All right? You need to come out to the side on a parallel or on a line. You cannot come and say this is enough, because you're not going to have enough room to turn. All right? One good one. out and to the side on the left. Part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, lower, pivot out, hold your ball, walk in that direction, move that heel, move the ball. Here it is. Sit back, lower, pivot out, center, walk in that direction, heel, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Now you check. What do you do to check? Put your hands down, drag the foot back. Is it good? Is it bad? You figure it out and you say to yourself, what should I do if it's too close? What should you do? You need to come clearly out and to the side. All right? Turn around. Turn towards the street now, okay? This time, face the clock. Face the clock, hold your ball. Left hand on the bottom. T-stance. We're going towards the street now, okay? Out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Oh, now look at your feet. Drag it back. I think people have some problem. Can you correct that? Go to the clock again. Okay, self-evaluation, self-correct. T-stance. Out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. You detect, you look. Is your foot going to have enough space? Let's move on. People who have to correct, do it in the next correction. Sit back, sit down, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, hold your ball, out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Make sure that front foot, which is your right foot, is it straight or is it veering out? Sit back, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, hold your ball, out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, lower, pivot out, walk in that direction, out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot out, hold your ball, out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. One more, really good. Okay, I'm looking at everybody. Sit back, sit down, pivot out, hold your ball, out on an L, move that ball, part the wild horse's mane. Sit back, sit down, pivot out, hold your ball, out on an L, part the wild horse's mane. Now drag your own foot back and see what happens. Okay, for people who did it sort of wrong in the beginning have now corrected it, but it's not easy because can go back to your original position. It's not easy because we are concentrating on our feet and our hands and putting more emphasis on our parting of the wild horse's mane. So it's natural, but try to transition out of it and kind of hold yourself to the strict routine of a good Tai Chi walk. It's not easy because you're going to have to build strength over time, but you have to understand the concept, okay? All right. I'm going to throw a little twist here. Rather than teach you white crane spreads its wings, we're going to use the same maneuver and we're going to multitask. It's going to be a challenge. When we multitask, our feet are in autopilot. We are sitting back, sitting down. We're walking in that direction. And we're taking an L and we're doing brush knee. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that if you have all your feet work correctly done, you no longer need to fully concentrate. You can move away from it, but you have to get to that point first. In all that we do, the hardest part about Any yang style other than yang 10 form is Tai Chi Walk, which is what we're learning. Okay, it's difficult because it's very strict and because it requires you to hold your body weight on one foot. Okay, so this is your challenge. Just like how we did parting of the wild horse's mane, we are going to incorporate brush knee in our Tai Chi Walk. The first thing we do is come forward so that we have some, no, I'm sorry, we'll come forward, we'll move forward so that you can all do it together if you need help watching me, and then we'll do it on a sideways, okay? So good Tai Chi posture, pivot out, parallel higher, L stance, move the top hand, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel higher, heel, ear, hand, heel, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, hand, heel, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. Put your hands down, drag your left foot back. Did you do it right? You answer that, okay? All right, let's go sideways now, okay? So people that way need to move down. No different. For those of you who say that you know all this, then take a look at how you're timing your motion. Parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. I am not turning my hand and then turning my waist. I am in sync. Ear, hand, heel, turn, hips and waist. Hands go for the ride. How do the hands go for the ride? If I am in connection, all I'm doing is turning, set my hands up, turning my hips and waist to make my rest of my torso and my hands go for that ride, okay? All right, lots of things to look at. Main thing now is footwork, okay? I'm going to be a stickler for footwork. So we're going to part the brush knee to the side, left side, okay? On a T stance, parallel higher, just like yang 10 form. Here we go. Energy stored on the back, right foot, otherwise nothing will happen. Out on an L, move the hands, turn the hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, L stance, turn hips and waist, multitask, bow stance. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn, bow stance. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, turn the hips and waist, bow stance. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush knee. One more. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel higher, ear, heel, hand, turn, hips and waist, brush, knee. Put your hands down to your waist, drag that front foot back. Do you have that gap I'm looking for? Okay. All right, turn around, going towards the street. I'm looking at the clock wall. I have a T stance, I have a parallel and a higher. All right, here we go. L stance, turn hips and waist, bow stance. Sit back, lower, walk in that direction, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush your knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush knee. 2 more. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, heel, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush knee. Sit back, lower, pivot out, parallel, higher, ear, heel, hand, turn hips and waist, brush your knee. Put your hands to your waist, you check yourself out, okay? Okay, go back to your original position. So I noticed something. When I noticed people in the beginning stages who were a little off in their formation, at the end of the challenge in our second movement, brush knee, it seemed to work out a little better. So what is it telling you? What is it telling me? If you are aware of perhaps something that's not correct, you are smart enough to figure it out and correct it. But only in class. You've got to kick it up a notch and you've got to say no all the time, even in my practice. Okay? And even if we're not concentrating on formation of feet and hands, you're going to have to take that responsibility to be strict with yourself in order to do good Tai Chi. Another thing that occurred to me is that every time we center ourselves, or most all the time we center ourselves, we're holding our ball. But in brush knee, we are centering ourselves in this position, which also, if you watch and feel, it's centering. And then heel comes down, hands move in synchronized movement. I also detected, so 3 things, okay? That was the second thing. The third thing is that people don't know how to sit back and sit down. In order for you to move correctly in Tai Chi, you're going to have to sit back, sit down. I do not mean sit back, sit down. I do mean good Tai Chi posture, sit back, sit down, sit back, lower in one movement. Okay, so this is what I see that's incorrect, and perhaps something that all of us should work on. This is your sit back. No, to fully understand and feel a sit back, you're going to have to be weighted and rooted down at substantial on that back foot to allow this now insubstantial foot to move. But if you have If you cannot sit back, sit down, you have 50, 60, 40, 50, 50. It's not going to help you. You've got to alleviate that weight of the front foot to now allow us to pivot. Okay? Now we'll do our Tai Chi walk. Out, 45, shift your weight. Heel, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Sit back. Out, 45, heel, L stance, open the knees, rotate, bow stance. Sit back. Twist step. Out, shift your weight, L stance, bow stance. Sit back, out, 45, shift your weight, L stance, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Sit back, out, 45, heel, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Sit back. Out, 45, heel, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Sit back. Out, 45, shift your weight, heel, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Two more. Sit back, out, Heel, open the knees, rotate, stretch. Sit back.